Hey guys, welcome back to the garage. You're probably wondering about part 3 of the MX-1 here. You've seen it run in some Instagram videos. It's true, it worked, it actually worked. So we'll just skip to the chase here. I didn't build it. Nope, my good friend Ben built it this last summer.
All right. Hey, it floats, woo! I didn't know you were gonna dress to match. Nice.
Catches every day,
Well, not bad when you're sitting on the bottom. Yeah, a little sand will clearance the pump too.
Yeah, that'll help make it go fast.
Oh God, it goes!
I see water!
Those bars look super wide.
Yes, they do. They're as wide as the all.
All right, big water test on the MX-1, take 5. Thanks, Dad, for building me a jet ski.
Sure. You're welcome, son.
Famous last words?
My wrenching days on the MX-1 are coming to an end.
He says that now.
Oh, it still sounds bad. All right, inaugural water test. Take 6.
When we were chasing our tail, not knowing it was an electronics issue. So as you remember from maybe the first video, we had Ziltronics ignition installed, and we had it set up for either a 3-lobe or a 2-lobe configuration. I can't remember. We just got it and stuck it in and didn't really think about it, but it was set up for the wrong one. So validate your configuration prior to installing it if you have a 2-lobe or 3-lobe configuration. But it was firing on every other rotation of the cylinder or the flywheel in lieu of maybe every third. I can't remember the details now, but yeah, it really messed it up. So it would kind of work. It was surprising how well it worked, even though it was messed up. But it was definitely not right. When you got it higher in the revs, it just vibrated like all heck and just would not come up and sound smooth. So while it looked like it worked, it was only just a trap, but it really just didn't. And had it going. So we'll just go through some of the build parts of it, what we figured out. So we did use this 66E base 927, and we had some issues with it. I'll show you how we custom made a bracket for the coupler cover. Here we fabricated a bracket. We only had one bolt to mount it to on the cases, unlike two like a typical Yamaha 62T. So we fabricated this bracket, got it all lined up, used an angle grinder and some other tools, and worked out really nicely. But ultimately, we had it running fantastic for one day. And it was at the sortie, Friday, the sortie, and it was great. I think everybody had a lot of fun with it. The problem we had was, so custom parts is custom problems. So the 66E had these custom bed plates, and they just fell apart. So they're kind of like some aluminum pieces bolted together, and we already pulled it out and red Loctited everything. That still wasn't enough. We thought about welding them. But hey, due to the last video, you know, we talked about Brandon Reed making, or possibly making this manifold here. Well, turns out he did make it, and he reached out to me and talked to me about this manifold. So that manifold there was one of 2 ever made, and it was never actually intended to be run before. So it wasn't supposed to be for this B-pipe head pipe. It was supposed to be for a different custom one that never got made. So with this manifold, we had to find a good spot for a second coolant line. We had Corey scan it with his, I don't know if it's radiography or I think it's an electron generated radiation to basically you can 3D scan any image, and he found the greatest spot to put a second cooling line in. Really cool. Now Trevor had to design like an adapter to move the exhaust manifold over so that the outlet flow matched. It's pretty cool. He's using, I think he took Corey's files and transferred them into SolidWorks, and he used some frame of reference here to establish where he was at. And then he started to design a piece. He pretty neat and pretty astonished. I think he, you know, he does this for like work and everything, mechanical engineer. It's pretty cool to have friends with these capabilities. So he designed this piece to offset the manifold flow and have it wouldn't be a step change, it'd be a smooth flowing, and that the bolts line up. It just so happened to be that the bolts were the same pattern as a B pipe. So Brandon planned that nicely, but he moved that over really well and put that in, and it all worked. Check that out. He got a shop to make it, and it's a smooth flowing adapter. Pretty darn cool if you ask me. We just put a little gasket on each side and it worked. So I'll go into some of the parts on this now, but basically Trevor had to make a spacer here. I don't know if you can see that very well. Spacer here to try to off-shift the exhaust manifold, because this hole out of the head pipe didn't line up with the manifold hole. It was off by about 5 millimeters, so he made the spacer and had it shift over. One thing too, in the last video we tried a conventional superjet B-pipe chamber and that didn't work, so we located a blaster limited chamber. That has worked out really well. So the it gets up to the coupler nicely, and this whole setup works pretty well. Like, it's maybe choked down, never meant to be more than a 900cc motor, but this 927 worked pretty well. This whole thing stays pretty solid. We used a Superjet water box and mounted it on a yoga block, and everything's nice and solid. Had to cut off a mount there that it usually has, and then on this mount, it just there's a little rubber pad underneath. If you can see that little rubber pad that we built that just kind of rests on that power valve block off. But some other growing pains, you know, these latches here, we got a couple of marks in the paint. Those bolts kind of stick out a little bit, so I need some low profile heads on there or something different. The steering and everything worked out pretty good. Throttle's good. One other downside, black opaque tank. Not really the best thing. It is a pain in the butt to fill this, so I'm gonna swap that out with a clear one, put this in a different ski, because just getting under the hood, it's a real challenge. Like, even if we had the struts, I don't know if that helped because it's still limited. So what we've done is take a chunk of yoga block and stick it in there to keep it open. But honestly, the ski's really fun. Really like it. Might do something with this, might just turf it. Colors don't quite jive, but honestly it's pretty cool. One other unplanned feature was when you turn all the way to one side, it does have a little gap here and it shoots you straight up right in the poop hole. So it's never fun, but we end up putting this trim system on there, and it seems to work pretty fine. Got that 155 pump. It's good. The foot straps feel really good. Really just kind of a fun ski. So another interesting development with talking to Brandon Reed, he actually made lower case halves for 66 E-base motors, cast them, that have either built-in mounts or the mounting system kind of part of it. So he's going to send me one of those, and we're going to mount that on here. We thought about going with X-Scream cradle, that we'd have to machine down the lower half of the cases, which wouldn't be too bad, but Brandon's going to send me one of his that he made for that, so we're going to replace the lower case halves and hopefully put it back together and have it be a good runner.
We got Daddy Trevor here taking out the MX-1.
Am I saying I'll see?
All right, Trevor, what do you think?
Well, if water comes out of both pistons, we're going in the right direction.
Well, let's check, see if it does.
Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. That's on my Easy Ski hitch hauler, the MX-1. It just barely fits on there, but it fits nice. That's about it for this episode. We'll get those new bed plates on and update you next summer. See ya.